So I'm back and just ready to set off these first lot of probes. I'm not sure how much I'm going to skip and fast forward, so it'll probably only be about 20 minutes in by now, but in real life it's been about an hour and 40 minutes so far on this mission, so yeah, just need to stop there briefly and catch my breath and plan the next steps. So what we're going to do now is actually just detach our first probe here. Unfortunately, being in a polar orbit, we've not got so much sunlight, so it's a little bit dark, but it should be okay. Let's just try and find our decoupler, and decoupling would be useful. Thank you very much. And let's just switch to that. So yeah, I think this first one we're gonna get out to a. We're gonna get it out onto the North Pole, I think. And let's just get these solar panels going. And we'll just stick a couple of them out for the moment just to keep that SAS balanced. So we should be fine there. And we need to flip around to our retrograde and activate our engine. And it's a fairly simple setup on here. We've just got batteries, solar panels, the seismic seismic accelerometer, and the Mechjeb unmanned command probe. So let's just rename this to Duna Survey North, and yep, so let's start burning on our retrograde and bring this periapsis down above the pole. And let's have a look, see where we are. So that's at 29, so we're going to get a little bit closer to the AP again. Actually, we'll just skip past the AP a little bit. So we're going to come down more directly on the pole with the periapsis. Stop warping, thank you. Oh, okay, hyper-responsive craft because it's really small. And I actually need to burn before the AP, not after the AP. Yeah. Okay, I'm so pro at this game. Okay, so that's fine. We have a relatively low periapsis here. And I'm just going to zoom around until we get up near that. And it's going to kill my horizontal velocity about here. And come into the atmosphere. We are using parachutes to land. If I've worked it out correctly, we should be landing at about 7 meters per second with these chutes. Duna does have an atmosphere, so you can use parachutes. The atmosphere is very thin though, so if you have a heavy craft, you need a ton of parachutes. Thankfully for these probes, they're pretty light, so we only need 4 of them really to get us down. So I can't warp any faster at this stage because we're quite low in. Whereabouts are we? We're 41k up, so we should be getting some aero braking effects as well. Let's bring these panels back in before we hit that lower atmosphere. Panels, panels, panels. Select everything but the panels, and there we go. So again, just pointing around to our retrograde, and that's quite a sight as we're coming up to the pole, and we can not see Ike. I think Ike must be on the other side. So yeah, we're gradually getting up to the pole. And let's just zoom on around a little bit faster. And we shouldn't clip any mountains on the way, as we did the flyby before, 15k, and we didn't hit anything. I think we're fairly safe. So coming up over the polar region now. And still got quite a bit of speed. A lot of this speed's going to be killed by the parachutes. So not using the engine to kill all the speed. We're just trying to use the engine to pinpoint our landing a little bit. So let's just burn here a bit. And that should do it. And we're more or less right onto the centre of the pole there, I think. I would have actually liked to have burnt through a bit more fuel before we came in, because the less fuel we have, the less weight we've got, and the more effective the parachutes are going to be. But yeah, it should be fine, I think, even though we've still got over half a fuel tank left. Yeah, because I had worked it out with not all of the fuel in there, so I think even with all the fuel in there we should still be fine. We've got landing legs, and I think they can take about 10 meters per second of impact, so hopefully we'll be good. Let's actually deploy the chutes now so they're ready to pop whenever they come up. And we could have set the chutes to deploy earlier, so we could have set them to deploy at sort of 5,000 meters further back, and it would have just given us a bit more time to slow down in the drogue chute mode, but I think we're going to be okay. That looks very pink, and that peak there I believe is just where the texture mapping gets a bit odd at the poles. I've never actually seen that on Duna before, so that's quite cool. So yeah, we are more or less on the pole. It's actually a good job we didn't land directly on the pole, because that looks like a pretty bad landing site. So we're going 10.2 meters per second, because we've still got a fair amount of fuel there. Let's actually just burn a little bit and bring that down. So burning through our fuel, which is making us lighter, and obviously the jet is slowing us down too. And that's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever come to the North Pole of Duna before, so this is a first for me too. So that's quite cool. I might actually bring a mission here later on and explore this a bit more in a bit more detail. So yeah, 3.8 meters per second, nice and slow, and still got tons of fuel left. And coming down, should be coming to the surface soon. I should have set up my window with surface information on, so we could have seen exactly how high we were. Let's cut the engines, and we're down. Excellent. So let's turn the SAS off, we don't need that anymore. And extend solar panel. And let's record seismic data. Excellent. And let's extend that solar panel, extend that solar panel, and extend that one. And let's just double check I did actually put a transmitter on here. Let's hope that I did. Yeah, we've got one tucked in there. Let's extend that. So yeah, first probe is down, and on to the next one. So let's switch back. So landing all of these is going to be more or less the same deal. I'm going to set one up on each pole, and then 4 as equally around the equator as I can get it. I'm not going to show all of that in real time, so I'm going to speed this up. Otherwise it could probably take a while for me to do this. And you probably don't want to see it done 6 times in a row. So yeah, I will be speaking to you again when we're ready to smash stuff up. So we've got our 6 survey probes all landed and recording data. Now it's time to start smashing stuff up. So let's detach the first of these. The one thing I have just thought of is I'm not 100% sure I put batteries on these, so I might detach this and immediately lose control of it. So let's see what happens. And do we have electricity? Minimal amounts of electricity. So yeah, this could be interesting. So let's activate the engine once we stop spinning. And activate. And we want to try and aim it roughly in the direction of the retrograde. And let's see if we can turn the SAS on. We haven't got any way of generating power, so it's going to spin wildly out of control. And I can't actually kill the thrust now, so where are we? We are going to make an impact. So yeah, note to my future self, if I'm going to do this again, put some batteries on your impact probes. Whee! So yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, these little engines that I'm using don't generate any electricity either, so there's no way of regenerating it. Even just a little solar panel on here would have probably done the job, but we're going to hit the ground and that's all we care about. And welcome back. So yes, it turns out that the probes without batteries on don't work for the impactors. The reason being that if the probe core doesn't have power, it's basically classed as debris. So you don't get any science points for the impact. So what I've had to do is basically send out another copy here with batteries on. So we should be good to go now. So yeah, fairly short planned mission has now turned into a 4-hour slogfest of getting this thing back out here. So anyway, we're good to go. We've got our seismic survey probes landed still, and we're going to detach our first impactor and send it down to the planet. So yeah, we can see now we do have power, and we should be able to use the SAS as well. And let's activate the engine. And we don't want to use the SAS too much because there's not a ton of power on there, but just enough to get us down for an impact. So I'm just going to burn on the retrograde. It is very, very juddery. I'm guessing that's because of the torque on the SAS and the small size of the mass that it's controlling. And that should be more than enough. So let's turn the SAS off and have a look at where we're going. So yeah, we are definitely coming down. And yeah, so the conditions that you need for an impactor to work is it needs to hit at more than 40 meters per second. It needs to be the focused vessel, so you need to actually be looking at it like this. And the third condition is that it needs to actually be controllable. So you even need to have a Kerbal in it, which could be fun, or you need to have a powered probe core. So an unpowered one doesn't do the job. So let's just zoom this up a little bit and come down, and can't warp any faster because we're coming into the atmosphere. It's going to drop us down to 1 times, yeah. And let's just zoom down a little bit more. Whee! And come down to 30, 28, 27, 26, 25. And we're going to make an impact on the North Pole. And let's accelerate. And let's just turn the SAS off, on, even, and kablamo! So, impact recorded. Science report can now be accessed from one of your accelerometers on the something something. So let's switch to one that's actually going to get some sunlight, because it takes quite a bit of electrical charge to transmit these. Yeah, of course it's going to go to that. Switch to the tracking station and switch back. So let's go to This one here. So here we are, and if we go to our seismic accelerometer and we go to collect impact data, there's 1,312.5 science. Wow. And let's transmit. And it's going to take quite a long time to transmit, and it's probably going to burn through our electrical charge fairly quickly. So yeah, maybe we should have chucked some more solar panels on this. You only have to do this from one of the probes. The amount of probes you have and where you place them just increases the amount of science you get for each experiment. Because we had these more or less ideally placed, we get a ton of science off the first experiment. So the next one we won't get as much. And I'm just going to time accelerate while we do this. It's not actually speeding up the transmission rate, so let's not bother with that. Let's actually just get back to the daytime, just to keep that charging. So yeah, I'm going to fast forward this and we'll be back to do the next explosion. So here we are, we're going to do our next impactor. So let's decouple it, and SAS on, flip round to the retrograde, activate the engines, and burn. Whoa, juddery, juddery. Let's just keep an eye on our electrical charge as well. So yeah, in future, if I do this experiment again anywhere else, I'm going to make sure I put solar panels on these things, just so the electrical charge isn't a problem, or maybe just make them a bit bigger and chuck a whole bunch more batteries on. Might be a good idea. I was trying to be sort of part efficient with this. I didn't want to have too many parts on it because it's fairly laggy, and also trying to make it as light as possible because we obviously haven't unlocked the really big engines and big fuel tanks yet that make these missions a lot easier. So, but yeah, having batteries would have made my life a lot easier because I wouldn't have had to run it over twice. So, yeah, I know for next time. So yeah, we're just zooming down through the atmosphere again, and we're going over 450 meters per second. So that should do just fine for our speed requirements there. And heading down towards the lower atmosphere, and we're going to stop time warping about here. And we're going to crash into the North Pole again. Blam! Excellent. And let's see if we can quickly switch. I don't think you ever can, because it would always take us back to the Space Center. Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing I'd like to see in this game is if you crash a ship, that you, rather than having to go back here to switch to one, you can just stay on the main map and switch to another ship from there. It'd make life a lot easier. Let's just see how much science we get from here. So from this experiment we got 796 science. So you see it's got diminishing returns. Duna mapper probe impacted into Duna producing seismic activity. From this data, information on the structure of Duna's crust can be determined. So yeah, loads of science. Depending on the planets you do it on, you get more or less science, and depending on the layout of your probes, like I said before, you get more or less science. Overall, you'll get the same amount of science no matter where your probes are, but if you get a decent layout, it'll just take less impacts to get it all. So I'm going to transmit this again, and then I'll be back for, I think we'll maybe do one more impact and call it a day there. So here we are, we're going to do our third and final impact here. So let's decouple our third impactor probe, and same deal as before, activate the engines, SAS on, fire retrograde, try and keep it pointing in that direction. And let's just keep an eye on our electrical charge. So yeah, we're just going to try and head as quickly as we can for the surface of the planet. And this is insanely hard to control. So it's just point straight down and keep burning. See how fast we can get going. So 500 meters per second, 600, 700, 8, 9, 1,000 meters per second, 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, 14, and we should get a little bit more speed as we fall. Let's turn the SAS back off. So yeah, 34 kilometers and just under 1,500 meters per second. And we're going to crash just in the edge here between the polar ice caps and the rest of Duna, which is quite cool. Awesome re-entry effects, and kablamo! I do really like these experiments. It is a lot of fun. It's quite nice to have something that you've got to do more than just land on the planet. You've actually got to sort of set it up and think about it and do a bit more. It's actually doing experiments rather than just landing something and clicking a button, which is pretty cool. So we'll quickly check how much science we get for that last one. So let's see how much we got for that. That was 482 science, so we could probably squeeze a fair amount more science out of this, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to transmit this, and then the last thing I'm going to do before we head back and see how much science we got overall is just check the mapping data that we got. So I'll transmit this and I'll see you back at the mapping probe. So before we head back to the Space Center, let's just check the status of our map. So it says it's at 73% complete, so it looks like the low resolution mapping has been done. It's just the high resolution that's needs to be finished. Probably going to just raise the orbit of this up to about 100 kilometers. Just to make that a little bit quicker to do, but I'll do that off camera. You've seen me do that on the previous episodes. So we will transmit the data from that. That's 140 science, and there probably won't be that much from there. Yeah, 83, so we'll leave that one for the moment. And let's just have a very quick look at the big map. And there won't be biomes on here because there's no biomes on anything other than Kerbin and Minmus and the Moon. But you can see the anomalies on here. So I think there's 2 on Duna, which we can come check out at some point. They're supposed to be quite cool. I've not actually looked at them yet. So that'll be quite fun to come and have a look at that. And yeah, so let's head back to the space station and see how much science we actually managed to pick up. So here we are. We've actually managed to get 2,738 science, so that's quite a lot of science. Question is where to spend it, and I think that's a question we're going to answer in the next episode. So until then, take care, see you later, thanks for watching.